Hey guys, it's Marco, and I'm here at the hospital. I just finished my cycle 2 just a few minutes ago for my chemotherapy for lymphoma. So it's Sunday now, the 22nd of August, and I started this cycle on Wednesday, which was the 18th. So that made it a total of 5 days. So I'm right about headed home right now to recover for 2 weeks till cycle 3, which will start on the 8th of September. But anyway, before I go home, I just wanted to share some of my thoughts and experiences that I've had so far and compare cycle 1 with cycle 2. So, in a word, cycle 2 was much better for me. Yeah, better would be the word for it in terms of how I reacted to it. I did cycle 2 at the hospital and with the chemotherapy drugs fed to me through a pump, which is this one. And for cycle 2, I did it as an outpatient at home, and I took a portable version of the pump with me, which is this like a device, a little device called an elastomeric pump. And if you want to know more about how that works, it's pretty interesting actually. And I've added the link to it in the description just below the video. And it doesn't run on any batteries or anything. You don't need to plug it into the wall, but it infuses the medicine, like the chemotherapy medicine, all the same. So I went in halfway through the second cycle to change my pump, which is kind of like a pit stop for me, like a pit stop. And now, I just finished my second cycle, and they ran the last medication for the day, which is called cyclophosphamide. It ran for about an hour and a half. So the question is like, how does cycle 1 compare to cycle 2? Before we get into that, could you just do me like a super quick favor and like this video and subscribe to my channel, and also ring that notification bell so that you know like when my next video comes out, which is gonna be like once a week or so. Anyway, moving on. In a nutshell, cycle 1 was much more intense. The first thing I felt in the first hour of my chemotherapy was just this like wave of dizziness and nausea. And honestly, like it hit me like a truck, and it overwhelmed me physically and emotionally. Like tears just started streaming down my cheeks, and I thought to myself like oh my god, is this really happening? You know? Like, am I really like a cancer patient receiving chemotherapy? And like whose body am I in right now? I mean, I was fine like a month ago, but now I'm here, getting chemotherapy. I felt overwhelmed, but my wife helped me get through the whole thing. She gave me a couple of ice packs and never left my side. I got an ice pack on the back of my neck and on my forehead, and then the nurse gave me some anti-nausea meds to get me through it. Now, the other thing that I had to deal with was the steroids that I took. They're called prednisone, and basically it kept me up a lot at night, and I felt like really restless and wired and amped up, and it took me a long time to settle down at night and go to bed. And even then, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and all of that. And the other thing that I experienced was just that, the steroids would kind of like amplify my emotions, which wasn't always a good thing. One time I got really like emotional after talking to my family in the US. Some of them live in the US, and we did like a video chat. And after the call ended, I just started crying so hard that the pressure caused like a little backflow, and I got some blood in my IV line. But I was okay, and the nurses fixed that for me, so I'm fine. But there is an upside to the whole steroid thing as well. I also got into this sort of like steroid fueled creative burst and started drawing stuff. So as a kid, I used to doodle a lot on my notebook, and whatever piece of paper I could get my hands on, and just draw and draw. So after many years today, I picked up a pencil and got back to drawing again. I got back into it, and I drew like a couple of mascots for like a coffee brand I was thinking about, and I came up with the logo and a name for it, and I even drew like a mock-up of what my mascots would and logo would look like if they were on like a coffee van. So I drew like a coffee van as well on my sketch pad, and because I see a lot of those vans going around here in Christchurch. So I was thinking of starting up like a coffee van sort of business from the ground up, or I could pitch my brand to someone who already owns a coffee van or something. I don't really know at this point, but anyway, that's what I put my energy into. And on the last day of my first cycle, though, I also had to deal with the effects of coming off the steroids. So that morning that I stopped the steroids, the nausea hit me the hardest, and I kind of like dry heaved in the bathroom. But luckily, I didn't actually throw anything up. And again, I just took my anti-nausea meds to take the edge off. And also, the other thing that I had to get used to after coming home from my first cycle was this medication called Filgrastim, and it's an injection that I had to take. And I took it on the last day of my first cycle here at the hospital. And then when I went home, a district nurse would come over to our house and give me an injection daily for like a week as part of like my recovery. And what Filgrastim does is that it kickstarts the production of blood cells called neutrophils, which is super important for someone who's getting chemotherapy, because neutrophils basically fight infection during cancer treatment. And it's also known as G-CSF, which is kind of like a stimulating factor, basically. And if you're curious about that, you can check the link in the description below the video. Again, I'm going to put a link in the description below. And one of the side effects of G-CSF was that they made me achy, and I felt like really icky in different parts of my body, like my hips, lower back, my throat got a little bit swollen. But my doctor and the nurses told me that this is normal because it was just the white blood cells working their way through my system, and it will be fighting infections in the different parts of my body. So that brings me to cycle 2. And first off, I think that I handled my nausea much better this time around. And the first dose of rituximab, which was like the first step of the chemo cycle, and it didn't hit me anywhere near as hard this time compared to last time. And throughout cycle 2, I'd feel slightly dizzy, but only like twice a day, in the morning and at night. So I just take my medication for that, and I was fine. And as for the steroids, I've handled them like a lot better now. My sleep hasn't been that erratic like the first time around. There were like days when I'd sleep like 3 a.m. but straight on until 10:30 a.m. So I'm getting more of these periods where I like slept uninterrupted, and that is like a big improvement, I think, in a way. And one other thing I noticed about steroids is that I kind of compare it to like riding a wave, like like you're surfing. Sometimes I'd ride the wave, pretty easy, pretty smoothly, and sometimes I just like wipe out and crash like it did during cycle 1. But still, I took advantage of my steroid-fueled creative burst, and which was to plan and create this channel actually. So I brainstormed with my wife, and we came up with different topics to like talk about, and also like even the name of this channel as well. So that's where I put my energy into. And also, just a brief background about me. Currently, I do tech support for a software company, but for the longest time, I've been a copywriter and content writer. So this is definitely something that I do, but this is my first time actually being in front of the camera and being on like the other side of the content creation process. So, you might have noticed that by now that I'm still like getting the hang of this thing. But anyway, just to wrap things up, I'm not sure what post-chemo, for cycle 2 will be like for me. I'm gonna find out soon like how my G-CSF injections will affect me this time. But I'll just wait and see what happens, and hope for the best. So that's pretty much like all I've got for now. And if you have any thoughts or stories to share about like your experiences, please let me know in the comments, because I'd love to hear from from all of you guys. This is like my experience, but I also want you guys to share yours as well. And one last thing, guys, if you could just please take a quick second to like and subscribe, and also ring that notification bell, as it would really mean a lot to me if you did that. And I'll send you a quick update soon. All right, so I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now, and thank you so much for watching.